Hey, hello, and welcome to the first episode of
My Girlfriend the Artist.
And yes, we're friends and we consider ourselves artists. I think Chris is an artist and I think she thinks I am too. But we decided we wanted to try to do a little collaboration, and we've been talking about doing one for a long time. And we decided we had such a great conversation figuring out what we were going to do that we would make the conversation the collaboration. So here we are having a conversation, and then we're going to reflect on what we talked about and work in our art journals. So the topic for today is boundaries. Kind of like being real versus being liked. At least for me, that's kind of what boundaries mean. On the topic of boundaries, I'm just going to be full disclosure that it took me a long time to kind of figure out how to set boundaries for myself. Only since I was like in my 50s have I actually really understood what it means. And I kind of guess I learned the hard way about it. But for me, boundaries means just kind of looking out for myself. And I think as women, we are not encouraged in society to actually set boundaries for ourselves, because we are more encouraged to be there for everyone else and be pleasing and be accommodating and look out for other people. So for me, I had to realize that I need to set a boundary and say no, and I need to be okay with it if someone doesn't like me if I say no. And I had some experiences. I think that some friends and family, maybe a few, not too many, but they didn't like it too much when I started setting boundaries. And that to me said that they liked how I was always there for them and not there for myself. So when they say my boundaries are harsh or call me mean because I'm establishing a boundary, that feels pressure to me, like to change it, to let it go, to like give it up and do what they want me to do instead of maintaining my boundaries. So I realized that that's a betrayal of myself. And even though I feel that pressure, I want to have them be happy, I realize that it's not going to work out for either of us if I give in and give up my boundaries.
Yeah, Sarah, that's just so great. I feel exactly the same way. It took me a long time to figure the boundary thing out too. And when you're a busy mom raising a family and you're working, there's not a lot of time left for yourself. And for me, I'm a people pleaser. I love making people happy. And I also don't like conflict. So there'd be many times where I didn't put those boundaries up and would do all these things, and then what happens in turn is that you kind of lose yourself. You lose your identity, you lose your inner spark. That can happen. And so, it's a fine line with the boundaries, and it might seem hard to do, it might seem selfish to do, but actually it's the opposite. It is necessary to do, because it's that taking care of yourself. And I think we just have to be so careful of not letting those boundaries be crossed, because we know what's important to us, and we know that in order for us to flourish, we have to have certain time for ourselves and do certain things for ourselves, and that means having boundaries and making choices. And it also means not being the victim of the situation, or putting yourself in the victim place. And there's a really good quote by Nora Ephron, and she says that above all, be the heroine of your life, not the victim. And now I'm just so curious, Sarah, how this is going to transfer into our artwork and what we'll do with these feelings and these thoughts in our art journals.
I know. I'm curious too. I feel like in my art journal, that is a place for me, and it's a place where my voice comes out. And I think one of the things about not having boundaries is that, and not speaking up about them in the past for me, has been like I didn't let my voice be heard. And so in my art journal, I feel it's more of a comfort zone to let express really what's in my heart and maintain my integrity of who I am and what I stand for, and communicate that through my art. And so maybe it's a chicken shit way to go about it, but I just feel like, it's a comfortable place for me to do that. It's an appropriate place for me to do that. And it has been like self-care because of that.
Absolutely. And that's a safe place, and it's a place to get your feelings and thoughts out in a safe place. So no, it's not a chicken shit way at all. I think it's just such a therapeutic way. And my take on it, I think, as I'm envisioning maybe what will transpire on my page is just courage, a lot of courage. I sort of, I'm imagining this stamp that I have. It's like a figure of a woman, and I just sort of am thinking now loosely that might be the focal point, and then this, I don't know what's going to happen, but I think this courage to keep your boundaries and preserve yourself.
Yeah, stand up for yourself, I guess, is another way of putting it. And the thing that occurred to me as you were talking about Nora Ephron's quote is, in terms of victimhood versus being your own heroine, is that when you empower yourself to set those boundaries, it is empowering. You're being an active architect of your life. You're not just being a passive, letting things happen to you and wondering, like, why did that happen? You're actually taking an active role in deciding what works for you, what is okay and what isn't okay for you. And it is empowering, and it feels like you're standing up for yourself, you're standing for yourself, and you're maintaining a healthy, integral, sense of yourself. And then when you feel your boundary being crossed at any point, you get that icky feeling, and you got to pay attention to that icky feeling, because that's what's telling you, this isn't okay, right?
Yeah, empowerment was the word I was thinking too, because you're taking charge of your life. And as you said earlier, you're not betraying yourself. You're taking charge of your life. You're being strong. And those are your decisions to make for you. And that feels really freeing, empowering. It feels really good. Yeah, it's hard. It's a little bit hard sometimes, but when you get into the practice of it, it feels really good.
Absolutely. let's try it again.